This is lesson 2 of Brandenburg Concerto No. 5, third movement by Johann Sebastian Bach, taken from the Edexcel GCSE set works for music. In lesson 1, we looked at the background to Bach and to this piece. We looked at what a concertino and a ripieno was, and just that general foundation of knowledge that we need moving forward. We're going to look more at the features in this lesson. So look at the piece and know that it's in ternary form and the key of D major. Touch on what a fugue subject, answer and a countersubject are and how they're used in Brandenburg, and to understand what is meant by stretto texture, and then look a little bit at the texture and keys within the A section. So this is the third movement, meaning we looked on last lesson that there are normally 3 movements within a concerto, 3 contrasting movements. We're going to look at the third movement within this 5th concerto. This is the 5th of 6 concertos written for Brandenburg. Now this is in ternary form, meaning that we have an A section, a B section, and then return to the A section. And it's written in D major, so there are 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. We look at the A section, and we have that key of D major with the 2 sharps. If you're unsure, there is a D major scale, so the tonic being D, the dominant being A, which is the 5th, and then the 4th being G, and we have another name for the 4th. Tonic, dominant, and what do we call the 4th? Let's see if you can remember. Then we move to our B section. Our B section is our relative minor. It's in B minor. I'm just trying to get rid of me and this here. There we go. Is in B minor, which is, if you look at your circle of fifths, you'll see that B minor is on the inside of D major, so it's the relative minor. So the key signature is the same, F sharp and C sharp. And that's at bar 79 to 232, so a big chunk being in that B section. And then we move to bar 233, where we return back to the A section, and we are back to D major, the original key of that piece. So we're going to now move on to talking about fugue subject, fugue answer, and the counter subject. And these are big features of this piece and of Baroque music. The first section, the first A section that we hear, so this section here, A section, starts with a 2-bar melody which is called the fugue subject, and it's played by the solo violin on its own, which means it has a monophonic texture, monophonic, 1 layer of sound. Much of the movement is based on this short subject throughout the piece. One of the reasons why this year, which is 2020, in case you're watching this in the future, one of the reasons why one of the compositions to a brief is to take a short melody and develop it in your composition is similar to what happens throughout Brandenburg with the fugue subject. And it's based on the D major scale. You've got the tonic and dominant being used here. The range is an octave, so there's the highest note, which is a D, and the lowest note there, which is the D below it. And then you've got this triplet movement, which moves by step, so B, A, G, F sharp, G, A, and then notes next to each other. So it's quite a mixture. Within that 2 bars, you've got leaps, you've got steps, and you've got octaves in there as well. And just a reminder, we're in 2/4, which is the key signature. There's your time signature. There is your key signature, and we're starting with this rest here. Have a think about how many beats that rest is worth. Here is what the fugue subject sounds like. Right, I'm going to play that for you once more. See if you can follow it with this here. Oh, that was good, wasn't it? Try again. So there's our fugue subject. Now, in response to that, there's a clever thing which is played by the flute, which is the fugue answer. And this starts in bar 3. And it's played by the solo flute, which is an almost, it answers what the violin's just played. If you have a look, the pattern is very, well, it's pretty much exactly the same. Here, the rhythms are exactly the same, but we start a 4th higher. So this one here starts on an A. Here we start on a D, and every note tends to be a 4th higher, apart from the last note, where if it was a 4th higher, we'd be finishing on a G. We actually end on the dominant, which is an A. By the way, the 4th note of the scale is called the subdominant. Let's have a listen to it. So there is your fugue subject, and here is the answer. Play that for you again. And the answer. So go away and have a listen to it in the piece. It will sound different with the actual instruments playing it, and see how many times you can hear that being used throughout the entire piece. Added on top of that, so now we've got our fugue answer and our fugue subject, we're going to add a counter subject. So another subject, which is, while the flute plays the answer to the opening 2-bar subject, the solo violin continues by playing 4 detached quavers. Dum, 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 dum. And you'll hear that pattern throughout the movement. The best way of hearing how all this works together, though, is by looking at the harpsichord. Because if you look, let's move this out of the way. The harpsichord is the last of the solo instruments to play the fugue subject, which it does first in its left hand and then in the right hand. So let's have a listen. We can't have a listen to it just yet, but have a look at it. Okay. And then we've got the subject again, a 4th higher, and the counter subject, that dum, 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 underneath here. So let's have a look at Stretto. Now sometimes entries of the subjects can overlap. So at the moment we've heard the dum, so if we go back, the dum, da, 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 dum, and then when that finishes, the dum, da, 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 dum, there's a little rest, and then it comes up again. Now, to add a bit more interest into the texture of this piece, we add what we call a stretto, which can be heard in the harpsichord part at bar 39. We're going to hear it below, but it's worth hearing it within the context of the piece. Have a look at how the entry of the subject here in the right hand comes in before the left hand is even finished. If we go back, the right hand comes in after the left hand's finished that subject. It gives like an intensity, and it's to act as an interruption, almost like an interruption in the conversation. Have a listen. Have one more. So I'm going to play it for you once more, and just again look at how the difference between that one after another compared to that sort of overlapping texture. So that there is where we get that stretto. And that's part of the main texture of this piece. The texture is nearly always contrapuntal, meaning that you've got, because of the use of fugue subjects and answers, by the way, just on a side note, we can call the texture fugal. So you will get a mark if it asks for the texture and you put contrapuntal or you put fugal, both answers are acceptable. The movement begins with a 2-bar solo. So one of the questions in last year's paper, 2019, was describe the texture of the opening 2 bars of Brandenburg Concerto No.5. It's a solo violin playing on its own, which means it's monophonic, one layer of sound. But as soon as the flute joins in at bar 3, that texture changes and becomes contrapuntal. You've got 2 melody lines, 2-part texture with equal musical lines. They're both melodies. They're not doing an accompaniment and a solo and accompaniment, melody and accompaniment. They're doing two melodies at the same time. We even make it more complicated at bar 9. Now we have three melodies playing at the same time as a contrapuntal, and then we add the use of stretto as well. So you've got, within the first 39 bars, you've got fugal or contrapuntal, monophonic, contrapuntal again, and then stretto. Within that as well, you then move to loads of different keys. So we start off at D major. This is just in the A section, so we know the A section's in D major, the B section in B minor. But just in the A section, we almost look at a triangle effect. We've got D major, we go upper fifth to A major, we go upper fifth to E major, so we call that the dominant of the dominant. Then we go down a fifth to A major and down a fifth again to D major. So we get this triangular tonality. And that is the sort of where we leave lesson 2 of Brandenburg. Have a go at the review questions if you can see them. Go and do your notes on this. So again, go back to the website, look through the notes, it's all there. The audio clips are there if you want to have a listen to them. And I will see you next time for lesson 3.